Welcome to the UK. If you're a smuggler, it's a country of choice.
What the hell's that big one? Is it one just blocked the resin?
With 12,000 miles of coastline and some of the busiest ports in Europe, we are a very tempting target.
You will see criminal organisations smuggling cigarettes one week, drugs the next, illegal immigrants the week after. If it's going to make them money, then they will smuggle it.
All the way down to that officer.
It's a very organised business. It's not a couple of lads bringing back a few grams stuck up their jumper. It's a thoroughly professional business.
We are the prime destination for smuggled cigarettes in the world.
It's a cat and mouse game. We're always trying to catch up with what they're doing.
And the leading consumers of cocaine in Europe. Tonight, the City of London police secretly track a gang.
Appreciate you're covering north, but yeah, that is going to come down that southbound, that vehicle.
All the males held within the entrance-exit area.
Who are smuggling millions of pounds worth of counterfeit goods.
They are what I call an organised crime group, and they're into serious organised crime.
We think from this he is now the money man. That is his role. He is the money launderer.
Strike, strike, strike.
They launch raids across London.
Mr. Herbert, we tell you you're under arrest.
Do you fully understand why you've been arrested, mate?
Oh, I didn't do anything.
And seize vast quantities of criminal cash.
The guesstimate at this stage is, I would say, it's well in excess of £100,000.
Felixstowe is Britain's largest container port. 3 million containers are unloaded here every year. Many come from China, a major producer of counterfeit goods. Every year, the vast majority of counterfeit goods slip through our borders undetected. But today, detectives Barry Butler and Graham Ord from the City of London Police have intelligence about a shipment which has just come in.
We're here today to have a look at a container that's just arrived from the Far East, and we believe it's containing counterfeit training shoes. China are synonymous with counterfeit goods. There seems to be a bit of a hotbed for this type of criminality.
I think the words are full.
The smugglers have listed the container as carrying furniture parts. But inside are copies of some of Nike's top-selling trainers.
Should be a different style. Yeah. Ooh. Oh.
Smugglers are increasingly moving into the counterfeit business.
If you were to try and bring drugs into the country concealed in a container, that's going to carry a large prison sentence, and the investment you outlay is a high price to pay for the drugs and high risk. A container like this, approximately 13,000 shoes, you can make a lot of money. Talking about in excess of £500,000 on one container.
The trade in counterfeit goods is worth an estimated £1 billion a year. It's as lucrative as the cannabis market.
What do you think? Leave the damaged box as it was and take a intact box?
The detectives aren't going to seize the trainers. Instead, they're going to track the container secretly so they can identify and locate the gang behind the smuggling operation.
They're no different to people who smuggle drugs or smuggle any other thing into the country. They're a well-organised criminal enterprise.
The detectives leave Felixstowe and will await the smuggling gang's next move. The City of London police are highly experienced in tackling counterfeit crime.
All too often, I think the great British public think, oh, it is just a pair of snide trainers or sunglasses or whatever. But actually, you know, it's a highly profitable, very well organised business.
Detectives here investigate everything from counterfeit pharmaceuticals to fake airline parts. They specialise in stripping organised crime of their assets.
Why do people commit crime? Because they want to make profits. How do we stop them doing it? We go after their profits.
Detective Barry Butler has had the sample he took from Felixstowe analysed by Nike.
The orange Nike trainer box.
Do you manage to get my size this time?
Size 9.
Right. Too big for me.
Nike Air Max 90. It says black and moon.
So it's exactly how it came in the container?
Yep. They've not been handled by our suspects, so we're free to...
What's fake about them?
On the back of the tongue you'll see...
I see it says made in Vietnam.
Yeah, and the size. That is a genuine label for a genuine trainer.
Right.
So it may not be this Nike trainer, but it'd be of this style.
So that label doesn't necessarily correspond in any way, shape or form to this trainer?
No.
Do they tell you what the value of, the real value to them of a container?
That trainer is a £90 to £120 trainer.
And how many are they taking?
14,000 or
yeah, well, 10 to 13,000. So we're probably looking at around £700,000 probably. The markup's huge. It won't cost them obviously more than probably about £3 per trainer to create and manufacture.
At Felixstowe Port, the 13,000 pairs of counterfeit trainers are now on the move. They've been transferred onto a lorry. A police surveillance team are tracking it.
Appreciate you're covering north, but yeah, that is going to come down that southbound, that vehicle.
They have intelligence the lorry is destined for a warehouse in Wembley, West London. Detective Barry Butler is watching the warehouse from a nearby property.
No change.
He spots some men waiting by the warehouse entrance. He suspects they will be the ones receiving the counterfeit trainers.
All the males held within the entrance exit area. Subject 3, also in attendance. Found my large HGV with blue-sided trailer, so approaching the block.
The detective's suspicions are confirmed. The men spotted earlier eagerly go to work.
Yeah, from the OP, you got a description of the driver when you're ready. Approximately 4 pallets have been removed so far.
The smugglers may have successfully shipped the trainers 5,000 miles from China, but the last step of the journey is proving problematic.
It's kind of game.
The forklift drivers just dropped 2 pallet loads on the floor. I think they get all these off on a forklift, dump them down in the entrance exit there, put them onto trolleys, take them to the storage room and then break them up, sort out styles and colours.
Despite the hiccup, the smugglers have unloaded £500,000 worth of goods within just 40 minutes.
It looks like the last of the pallets are coming off the wagon, so we might get some imminent movement.
As far as they're concerned, everything has gone to plan. But little do they know, their every move has been watched.
HGV is now manoeuvring. Subject is into driver's side. Males are now into the Picasso.
Detectives now have the faces of the smuggling gang. And as they all leave in one car, its registration plate may give the names to go with the faces. Detectives now investigate how the gang are laundering their criminal profits.
What better way than to say, yeah, it's from the takings from a cafe. It's great, hides it. Not from us, but it's a good attempt to hide it.
And start to identify the ringleaders.
He is top of the tree. He is a person that deals with factories out in the Far East.
At the port of Felixstowe, the City of London police are investigating the smuggling of millions of pounds worth of counterfeit goods. And in London,
Subject 3, also in attendance.
They have the smuggling gang under surveillance. Detective Barry Butler has made a breakthrough on the identities of the gang. He updates his bosses.
Subject 1, Zohir Habet. He seemed to be the main player taking control of the first delivery.
How did you identify him?
He was identified subsequently from his vehicle.
Okay.
Subject 2, Marood Abad. Again, identified from the vehicle he had access to and to his home address.
So he's subject 3?
Yes. Elias Dahimi, subject 3. These are better images of him.
And you're saying that now Dahimi's the main man?
Yes.
And why are you saying that?
What we've had fed back is he holds court. He's been doing this for a period of time. It's how he makes his living.
Right. And he said that somebody knew about that information?
Yeah, it's information that's come back.
So we feel that they're not, these names we've got are as good as we're going to get. We're not just working with false identification.
The gang are all Algerian. None of them has a criminal record. At the moment, detectives have little to go on.
They don't dress up specifically well, they don't drive high-powered or high-value motor vehicles, they just live under that radar. But the more that you get into them, the more that you see how well organised they are, how well-oiled their machine is, and the propensity of the size of the illegal trade that they're operating.
Detectives have discovered that the gang began smuggling their goods from Greece, but have now expanded their enterprise and made their own contacts in China.
These guys have been in that underworld for some time, I've no doubt about that. And your connections grow. And when you're trusted by one person, they'll reference you into another person. So it's criminal trust. Dahimi, Elias Dahimi, plays a pivotal role in expanding the connections that this group have. These people operating within this crime group are absolutely and fundamentally one of the biggest counterfeiting groups in the UK.
At Felixstowe, the gang have received their next delivery from China. The surveillance team are on the move again. They have intelligence that this consignment is being delivered to a different warehouse, this time in North London. Before the lorry arrives, the gang are spotted in a nearby supermarket.
004 Algeria Male set within the cafe in Sainsbury's.
There you go, see him? Yeah, got me.
Blue and grey, striped, really hurt.
They leave in 2 cars, the first to go, a Citroën Picasso.
Here's the other car here, in front of us.
Don't make me wait back to you anyway.
The surveillance team take position outside the front of the warehouse.
Yeah, got a blue trailer, Volvo type, collect into the premises, wait for confirmation. Leave a mail from the Clio, they approach the driver.
Footage captures the key ringleaders, Marood Abad and Elias Dahimi, taking another massive delivery of counterfeit goods. And inside the warehouse, it shows the gang have access to numerous lockups. In the space of 3 weeks, the gang have taken delivery of 40,000 pairs of trainers. The smuggling of counterfeit goods may seem like a low-level crime compared to drug or people trafficking. But for the criminal gangs, it requires the same level of sophistication. And for them, the profits are huge, while the risks are low. A smuggler importing £500,000 worth of heroin could face 20 years in prison. A counterfeiter is likely to get just 3 to 5 years. But the counterfeit trade comes with its own misery.
This is not a victimless crime. There are people living in abject slavery around the world who are creating these goods for these smugglers. People who are working in the most horrendous conditions. They are slaves to these gangs.
The Algerian gang aren't interested in working conditions, just the £1 million profit they've made.
As time progresses, we find more and more out about them, their movements, other storage premises that are linked to. Their involvement is particularly sophisticated, the way that the importation's done, the way that the ordering's done. Alias names and bank accounts set up specifically for the purpose of storage premises, so they're trying to distance themselves from it.
They are also trying to distance themselves from the money they're making. Only one of the gang, Zohair Habet, shows any signs of wealth.
He has a nice address, a development block of flats with private parking, gated entrance, so yeah, an affluent area as well, so it's not somewhere that's going to be cheap to live. Subject 2, Marood Abad. He is a person that's heavily involved in the distribution, so he will meet customers buying the goods, deal with them directly.
Elias Dahimi is the man with the international connections.
He is top of the tree. He is a person that deals with either factories or representatives of the factories out in the Far East and orders of commodities, gets them shipped into the UK and then organises their distribution.
Detectives have tracked the gang as they've received 3 shipments of counterfeit goods, but have discovered they've been smuggling for years.
The financial inquiries are historic ones, showing they've paid for storage premises dating back over years. So before we were aware of their criminality, they've been doing it. It's only that they've come to notice now that we can obviously stop and hopefully recover any of their criminal gains.
Tracking their criminal gains is vital to the investigation, and they've had a breakthrough. The gang are spotted meeting frequently at this cafe on the Seven Sisters Road in North London. Marood Abad is even seen behind the counter. Checks reveal Marood Abad is the registered owner.
It is a central feature, or it's becoming a central feature of this operation. What could be happening here is some of the ill-gotten gains that they're making through the sale of the counterfeit trainers. The cash can be deposited with the cafe to show that it's legitimate business, and they're washing the money through. Well, what better way than to say, yeah, it's from the takings from a cafe. Great, hides it. Not from us, but it's a good attempt to hide it.
But the cafe alone can't launder the £1 million profits the gang are making.
You'd probably need 5 or 10 of these cafes to absorb the money that these lot are probably making through the counterfeit goods that they're selling. And so what they're going to have to do is drip feed it through. And so they need somewhere to actually, as a holding purse, if you like, for their money, they need somewhere.
After 6 months of tracking the gang, detectives have finally discovered where they're holding the bulk of their money. They're spotted entering a safe deposit centre in Wembley. CCTV shows Dahimi and Abad making deposits into 4 separate boxes. Up until now, the gang have run a sophisticated operation, but they've made an error. They've registered the boxes in their own names. The footage also reveals a new player. The most frequent visitor is Sid Dahimi, Eliza's younger brother.
We think from this he is now the money man. That is his role. He is basically the money launderer. He is responsible for taking the cash from the transactions and storing it.
He's seen with bags and bags of cash.
He's a key player just behind the surface, not seen ordinarily in the normal course of daily grind. He's in a very, very trusted role. He's the guy that's got his fingers wrapped around the pound notes.
The gang hoped that by keeping Sid Dahimi separate from the smuggling operation, their criminal profits would be protected behind a firewall.
If they got picked up, say, driving a van full of counterfeit shoes, Sid Dahimi would never be linked to the commodity.
This is what will bring their lives down. This is what, when they're arrested, will absolutely deflate them. Because the minute they know that we've found their cash, their lives come tumbling down.
It's 5 in the morning. 200 officers are preparing to raid 27 properties across London, including 10 warehouses, a cafe, and a safe deposit centre. Detective Barry Butler is on his way to arrest one of the ringleaders, Marood Abad.
He's second in command. He's always been present when we've ever observed any delivery.
Simultaneous raids are being carried out on the other 3 gang members. The priority is not just to get the suspects, but to seize the profits the gang have been making.
Previously, people would go and do their 5 years and come out and still have their 100 and odd grand and all the proceeds from their life of crime. But now, if you can prove it's come from criminal enterprise, you can take it. They don't like that a lot.
Detective Graham Ord is in position to arrest Zahir Habet at his opulent West London apartment.
All units from Shadow Park, 2 minutes to strike, 2 minutes to strike.
Detective Barry Butler is waiting at Marood Abad's house.
DCI Dave Clark.
Go.
Strike, strike, strike.
Police, can you open the door, please? All right, Mr. Marudabad, we've got a warrant to search these premises. I'm arresting you on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. Is there anything here that you want to tell me about? Any large amounts of cash or anything that you shouldn't have? Okay, do you fully understand why you've been arrested, mate?
Open the door, please. Please, City Police. Open the door, City Police. Nope. There you go. Please just stay there, mate. Stand still. Mr. Habet. Yes. DCO'd from City Police Money Laundering Unit. They tell you you're under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy, defraud, and money laundering.
I didn't do anything.
With the main suspects arrested, the hunt for their cash begins. At Marudabad's house, Detective Barry Butler has called in a sniffer dog to help with the search.
He's indicated that he's got some wages just over there in an envelope. But yeah, as far as he's concerned, there's no other cash.
Young man, the dog's trying to find cash, drugs and firearms. Is there anything other than the wages you pointed out in the house?
Just have a quick look at it.
The dog ignores some counterfeit trainers, leaves the aftershave. But it's the sofa that raises most interest.
Proceeds of crime. That's what that is.
Yeah, but to be fair, that's where I put all my money. I normally stuff my money either under there or under my pillow at night, so, you know.
I don't know even that there is cash there.
Okay. Is that cash yours?
If it's not mine, it's from the property from the coffee shop.
Okay. Do you know how much is there?
To be honest, not.
Okay.
Abad claims the money is takings from the cafe. Detectives turn their attention to the place they suspect the gang are laundering their money. They discover several money transfers to the Chinese suppliers and documents showing the gang's numerous warehouses across London.
It may well be the case that there's paperwork there that indicates storage facilities we weren't aware of, in which case we're optimistic that we can find much larger quantities of counterfeit goods than we thought.
Across London, several of the gang's warehouses are being raided.
Awesome.
To be opened is Unit 1140.
Here to be ladies' night training shoes.
There are 1,000 pairs of trainers in this one lockup alone.
And it is floor to ceiling, back to front, absolutely chocker. Right, let you crack on, boys. Thanks very much for that.
Oh dear, right.
In North London, there's a far bigger find.
there's about £300,000 worth of shoes in this locker alone. Overall, for the operation, there's probably somewhere in the region of £1 million ballpark figure. The scale of this operation is vast. We reckon today we'll fill 3 40-foot containers full of counterfeit shoes and other bits of counterfeit clothing. So it's an enormous operation.
Detectives knew that the gang was smuggling trainers through Felixstowe port. But they've now discovered they were making so much money they were also shipping them by air freight into Heathrow, East Midlands and Coventry Airport.
Some of this stuff has been brought in from Athens, and clearly they're very well connected throughout the smuggling world and through the counterfeiting world.
The gang used false identity documents to rent the warehouses. The owners had no idea about the counterfeit goods. At their headquarters in the Square Mile, the man who masterminded the smuggling operation is finally in custody.
Right then, sir, can you tell me what your name is, please?
Elias.
Elias.
E-L-I-E-S.
I-E-S. E-L-I-E-S. And your occupation? Your occupation?
Fruit and salad. Fruit and vegetable.
Nice. If you listen to what this officer says, he'll explain to me the circumstances behind your arrest.
Okay, Mr. Tahimi has been arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. The allegation concerns importation of vast quantity of Nike counterfeit trainers into the UK and their onward distribution within the UK.
The sophistication of this gang cannot be underestimated. When I first started seeing some of the pictures coming in of these individuals, my experience told me that these guys they're not youngsters, they're not new into the world of crime. They've been about a bit, they've been around the block a few times. And what we've found is that they're a well-organised outfit. They are what I call an organised crime group, and they're into serious organised crime.
And like all organised criminals, they think they've been clever at hiding their money. But late into the afternoon, detectives finally get access to search the 4 safe deposit boxes in West London. They film what they discover.
Ben, if you can just lift up a couple just to show the depth. A guesstimate at this stage is, I would say, it's well in excess of £100,000.
Some 50 notes there as well.
And some 50 donation 50s. Lovely. So this is a second box, which was
4307.
4307. Oh, crikey, the same again. It's 10s and 20s, and there's the same again below. I don't know if you can see it, mate. If I take them out, you see below there's, yep. Again, I can see 20s, 10s, and possibly the remnants of a 50 there. There's a quantity of euros here. 50 euro. So how many? Oh, there's 100 euro there. There's a couple of grand or so there in euros. So this is out of box number
6075.
6075.
In a third box, they find the gang's identity documents.
French passport.
And an unusual demand.
Inland Revenue. Excellent. Well, that's for Mr. Sohimi. Looks like some sort of self-assessment thing. I'm sure the revenue would be interested in all of this, wouldn't they? I think it might be.
The money is taken back to the City of London police headquarters.
First box we opened, probably the larger of the 4, contained a significant quantity of Bank of England notes, denominations of 10s, 20s, predominantly 20s. Yeah. And there's also a significant amount of 50s. There's passports in there, French passports, copies of Algerian passports. In the initial, we're looking at well north of £300,000.
Excellent, well done. It's what we were hoping to find, but you know, it's actually nice when you do get your hands on the cash. Well, this is what drives their business, and we can actually take it off them. Then it's really going to hit them where it hurts.
In total, detectives seize over £480,000. The City of London police have seized over £480,000 in cash and £1 million worth of counterfeit goods from a smuggling gang. In their secure evidence room, Detectives are logging some of the samples.
There's a few surprises, actually. We did get what we expected in terms of the trainers. Just looking at the boxes here, we've got these are Nike, these ones are Adidas. But in addition, here we have a box which is for of Prada footwear. We also have lots of clothing, which was seized again from both residential and the storage facilities. The names that we have here, the designer makes, such as Armani, D&G and Versace. Handbags, this wasn't expected either. We think this one, I think, is a Gucci. And again, this one here, this is another Armani bag.
The gang's smuggling operation far exceeds the detectives' suspicions. They had a shopping list of most high street brands. Documents taken from the warehouses show customs had seized and destroyed several of the gang's consignments dating right back to 2008. But no arrests were ever made.
Obviously, when they've suffered frustrations through customs intercepts, they've looked to use a different method, employ a different method of getting their goods into the country.
The goods were seized at the airports, but as the gang used false names, they were never traced. Believing they were invincible, they upped the ante, changing routes and importing on an industrial scale.
Not stated.
When a group thinks it's so easy, and when they're beyond detection, and when they've got their structures set up in such a profound way and they've been doing it for such a long time to get there, it becomes almost in their mind a legitimate business. And it's their legitimate way of surviving on the earth and earning money. So I don't think there was a get out. You know, their get out would be retirement, like the rest of us.
The gang's retirement funds were very healthy. Over 3 years, they had smuggled an estimated 150,000 pairs of counterfeit trainers, worth between £3 and £5 million on the black market. The man managing their funds, Sid Dahimi, is now in custody.
The concealed, disguised, converted, transferred or removed criminal property, namely cash, to the value of in excess of £400,000 by means of hiding the same in a safety deposit box, and is contrary to sections 3271 and 334 of the Proceeds of Crime Act of 2002.
With all their cash and stock seized, the gang will have some serious explaining to do to the Chinese suppliers.
They haven't paid for that stock, they've got to find the money to pay the Chinese. So I don't think they're going to get away with it. The police have taken it. I think they're still going to have to make that money and pay that back. So it's tens, possibly hundreds of thousands of pounds that they owe. So, yeah, it's not going to just disappear, the problem, is it?
Could they be more worried about the Chinese than they will about you?
Possibly, yeah.
This is a global smuggling network that has been brought to its knees today. Make no mistake about that. And today, it's not just about the people that we have in custody who are flooding the UK market. We're talking best part of 30 containers taken out of circulation in the US, and we've got the key kingpin players in custody as well, out in Guam.
Through a 6-month covert operation, the police have identified the smuggling gang's tools of the trade. A cafe to launder their criminal profits.
There are some businesses that are only there for the purpose of laundering criminal money. It's big business to be able to legitimise that criminal money.
Appear happy to be 10s and 20s. Oh, indeed, we've got some 50s there.
A safe deposit box, stuffed with hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Criminals' worst nightmare now is the Proceeds of Crime Act. This is about making money from a multi-million-pound illegal business. And when we hit them in that pocket and take everything away from them, and we trace those assets, that's what they hate most.
And they've discovered multiple smuggling routes into Britain. By sea at Felixstowe, and by air freight.
When you've got huge returns, when you're talking about billions of pounds, then you will be getting people who are extremely bright. extremely greedy, extremely ruthless, but extremely bright. And you know what? They will be clever and they will test us.
In January 2012, a jury finds the gang members guilty of money laundering and conspiracy. Elias Dahimi receives 5 years. His brother Sid Dahimi, 3.5 years. Marood Abad, 5 years. Zohir Habet was also found guilty of conspiracy. Habet received 2 years and 9 months. All will now face a police confiscation order on their assets.
Cracking down on cash machine crime. The